Krasovich.
Here.
Trustee Roberts.
Here.
Trustee Gergen. Here. Trustee Rhodey. Here. Trustee Grabowski. Here. President Knutson.
Here. Okay, be just a second here. Oh, shoot. Doesn't work. Don't call the meeting to order till you're ready. Okay, the second agenda item is public hearings. We have none. 3 is approval of the regular village board meeting minutes dated April 5th, 2023. I hope everybody's had a chance to go through. Are there any questions, comments, corrections as the way they are presented this evening? No? Then I will look for a motion to approve as presented.
To approve minutes as presented.
Robert, second. Further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay, I'd like to welcome back Heather Gergen to the board.
Thank you.
Good to see you here again.
Nice to be here.
Item 4, citizen comments. This is an opportunity for citizens to share their opinions with board members on any topic they choose. However, due to Wisconsin open meeting laws, the board is not able to answer questions or respond to your comments. All comments should be directed to the board. Comments are limited to 3 minutes per speaker. Speakers are asked to please use the podium and state your name and address for the record. Is there anybody in the room that would like to make a comment? Yes, sir.
Hi there, good evening. Dan Ladwig, I live at N37W26980 Kottmeyer Drive. I'm here because I saw that on the agenda is the quiet zone for the trains. Living on Kottmeyer Drive, I'm in a weird position where the Kottmeyer crossing is in the village, but the Parkside crossing is in the city of Pewaukee. I've attended city of Pewaukee meetings. They've told me that they're very much focused on like the south and eastern crossings that they own. I think they have 3 crossings in the city on the eastern side. So they're doing work to make that quiet. They've told me that for Parkside crossing, which is the one I'm really interested in, they're kind of waiting for the village of Pewaukee to take action on quiet zones in the train crossings that are in the village of Pewaukee before they'll take action on Parkside, which is the last, I guess, Pewaukee crossing that there is. So just, voicing my absolute, support of the quiet zone crossings. Lived here for a few years. Some of the conductors are just crazy with their horn honking and it just, all hours of the night and just not totally unnecessary. I understand, for safety purposes, they do the long, short, long. Some of these conductors, I swear, do not let go. It's a long and they go for it. So yeah, just really interested to learn more about, in particular, the Kottmeyer Drive situation. So hope to get an update on that tonight. And honestly, I'll be taking whatever I learned here and going back to the city and trying to, help them understand what's going on. Because it seemed like they didn't understand what the village was doing as far as the quiet zones are concerned. So, I'll try my best to cross-pollinate, I guess. But
Okay. Thank you very much, sir.
Yep, thank you.
Is there anyone else that would like to make a comment? Anyone? Oh, yes, sir.
Former trustee Ed Hill, 303 Sunset Drive. So a couple of things, Jeff always says talk about anything and everything. First of all, I'd like to congratulate Trustee Krasovich, Trustee Rhodey, and President Knutson on their re-elections, and welcome back Trustee Gergen to the position. So the Bucks are still in the playoff. Doesn't look like it's all that promising with Giannis being out. The Brewers are in the lead in the National League, and St. Louis is last. We still have Aaron Rodgers, but that's yet to be seen. Probably be decided probably in the next 48 hours. And today's weather was wonderful. But that's not what brings me up to the podium this evening. Item 5A on your agenda is with regards to ordinance 2023-04, to amend Article 14, Section 6 of the, regarding building demolition. I brought this to the board at our last meeting, asking for some minor changes in the demolition policy, primarily with regards to hazardous and environmentally sensitive materials and disposal. Yes, the EPA does have regulations that tells that this stuff needs to be managed and handled properly. So does the DNR. And just like all of our ordinances, it's all complaint driven. The problem is the complaints come after the fact, and by then the damage is already done. So I'm looking to help protect our environment, and I don't understand why anybody else would not be interested in protecting our environmental from hazardous waste and environmentally sensitive materials. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to make a comment at this time? Okay, then we'll move on. Item 5A. Ordinance, possible action on ordinance number 2023-04, ordinance to amend Chapter 14, Article 6, Section 14.243 of the Village of Pewaukee Code of Ordinances regarding demolition of buildings. Scott, would you like to?
Sure. The ordinance, draft ordinance you have in your packet is consistent with what was discussed at the last meeting and direction given to staff to proceed. When drafting this, there was one add that staff took advantage of with reference to the last sentence. Attorney Blum thought it'd be beneficial, since we're in this section of the ordinance, just to reference that a permit would be needed for anything prior to a landmark designated property getting a building permit. Door has to remain open.
Any questions? You're done?
Yes.
Okay, any questions or comments from the board?
I spoke at the last meeting when this was brought up. As I said, I've gone through a demolition permit of an old structure within the village. I understand fully the hazardous materials that are in most of these older structures and what the DNR and what our building inspector and everyone else requires of it. I do see there's a lot of areas that corners can be cut, so I am in favor of these changes.
Anyone else? No? Do I have a motion then?
But I do have a question.
Yes.
In regard to the ordinance, it says, dispose of current USPA and Wisconsin DNR regulations with proper documentation submitted to buildings inspection services, evidencing that the material has been removed and appropriately disposed of. What does appropriate disposed of? What is that going to entitle?
So any kind of hazardous materials are required to be disposed of at a landfill that is certified to accept such materials. So that's what you'd be looking for, that they just didn't take it to, a dump in, some other county where there wasn't much regulation and just disposed of it because it was cheaper.
Okay, and that is required right now by the US and Wisconsin state?
I can't tell you for certain that that's the case, but I think you would want to know that that's been disposed of appropriately.
I can't speak from the asbestos side. I know the DNR does require the proper inspection, certification, remittance, and the DNR has to receive paperwork that it has been disposed of by a certified contractor and disposed of properly. So I can speak from that side of it. I'm going to go with the assumption, and I know every lawyer cringes on that, but I would like to believe that all what Trustee Hill brought this up before, is that professional services that are licensed, that are the right contractors we should be using for these jobs, put their licenses on the line to do these jobs, so they make sure that that stuff is handled correctly on the back end.
Any other discussion? I have a motion on the table. Do we have a second? Or do we have a motion? Okay, I'm looking for one then.
Motion to approve ordinance number 2023-04 to amend Chapter 14, Article 6, Section 14.243 of the Village of Pewaukee Code of Ordinances regarding demolition of buildings.
Second, and Grabowski.
Okay, now we have a motion and a second. Any further comments?
One other
Yes.
question, please. When would this take effect? Would this affect developers that are currently have plans approved?
So these are effective upon passage and publication, and it would be for any permits that would be sought moving from that date forward.
Okay,
So if you have an existing project, no, it would be, if they've already got a permit, ship has sailed on that.
Any other comments or questions? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion is carried. Ordinance number 2023-04 is hereby adopted. Item 6, we have a resolution, number 2023-04, resolution recognizing the service of Edmund Hilt to the Village of Pewaukee. Resolution 2023-04, a resolution recognizing the service of Edmund Hill to the Village of Pewaukee. I know you just couldn't wait to get up here. Whereas Ed Hill was elected village trustee in April 2017 and was reelected for 3 additional 2-year terms until finishing his last term, April 2023. And whereas Ed Hill was appointed to serve on the Pewaukee Lake Advisory Board 2019 to 2023. And whereas Ed Hill was appointed to serve on the Public Works and Safety Committee in 2017, where he is currently serving, and whereas Ed Hill assisted in serving as an election inspector 2020-21, and whereas Ed Hill assisted in the development of the Department of Public Works building plan using his expertise in facility management, and whereas Ed Hill used his expertise to help develop a 10-year capital improvement plan with an emphasis on building maintenance needs, and now therefore be resolved by the Village Board of the Village of Pewaukee, Waukesha County, Wisconsin, that it hereby extends its heartfelt appreciation for the dedication given to the Village of Pewaukee by Ed Hill while serving the residents of the village as a trustee, dated this and approved this date 18 April 2023. Thank you so much, Ed. We have a little speech. Yeah. Okay, everyone.
You know, I learned a lot. Came into this board not knowing a lot about local government or government in general. But learned a lot. I learned a lot about the people that work in the village, the hard, dedicated efforts that they put in and day out to keep our village what it is. And the board that we have today is much better than the board that I stepped in to. And hope to continue that way.
Thank you, Ed.
Thanks, Ed.
Good.
Could I get a motion to approve the resolution?
Motion to approve, Rhodey?
Second, Krasovich.
All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Thank you so much, Ed. Okay, under old business, we have none. New business is discussion on direction and trustee committee appointment terms. I'm going to put that off one more time till the next meeting. Item B, discussion and direction on email newsletter options. Cassie, you want to start it?
Sure. So after the meeting on, I think it was March 7th, we looked at different ways we could email out newsletters, and then I guess I kind of took it upon myself to think big picture to see if there's other options that we had to get newsletters out. I asked other clerks. I came up with a list in front of you, email only, email and text, text only. There's apps out there for people, website applications for alerts and social media that we could use. So I guess tonight, if we could talk about giving staff direction as to what seems most favorable and if there's a direction that you want us to go so we can present, numbers, and if you have questions, I can find those out, I guess.
Is there any other comment, questions?
I have a few.
Yes.
I thought this was really comprehensive, and thanks for doing that. I went through the links that were provided, and I wanted to find out from you which one you preferred.
Well,
Other than none of the above?
I wouldn't say that, because I think that there are some things, I mean, so do I like the text messaging? Because I think it would reach people right away, yes, but it's expensive. I thought the Facebook, because a lot of people have that, so those were my, and the cost went from like $250 a month to $99, so that's good that way, but yeah, I guess those were my favorite. I think the app is cool, I just don't know if we would get many people on board with that, you know, so.
So you're saying that you liked the American marketing version for the text?
The text, yeah.
Okay, and then for Facebook, the page freezer or the
Yeah.
archive social?
Yeah, I think Page Freezer is the cheaper one.
Yep.
Right, yeah.
And, but if we went with American marketing for text, we wouldn't have an email option on it.
Right, so there's a couple combination things you could do for both of those, but again, at what price you're willing to spend when we don't have a lot of money.
But that was the Civic Plus is the one that had unlimited emails and text message, 500 text messages.
Yeah, and I don't know if you tried that. I tried to sign up for the City of Oconomowoc. I thought it was kind of clunky, in my opinion. So I didn't.
Have you talked to the city of Oconomowoc? to see what they thought?
She's the one who sent it to me, and she said it, you know, that's what they use. She didn't really lead on like it's doing great or it's not. But so even though we don't have Civic Plus for our website, they will, you know, build it into ours. They can, and it's okay. I think it just needs to be set up a little different because you basically put in your email and then you choose what alerts you want. So if you don't care about brush pickup, then you wouldn't maybe sign up for that. I don't know. I'm just, you know.
Yeah. Because, you know, I was surprised to see that they offered that without going with their content management system. So I actually thought that one was pretty good for Civic Plus, but I didn't sign up for it to test it out.
I mean, I'm sure it's fine. It was just, I didn't feel like it was a good flow.
Yeah.
Yes, Chris.
I love this research too, and I appreciate all the time and effort you put into this. You came up with some options that honestly hadn't even occurred to me personally, so thank you. It's been educational. When I consider what we're doing today as an outreach effort, it seems to me that we have the most parity with email communication. What's being sent today is essentially a quarterly newsletter that arrives with utility bills. The closest comparative we have would be an email communication, I would think, because it allows us to offer a comprehensive amount of information as opposed to the one-hit, more urgent messaging of text. Text appeals to me as an add-on, but my initial thought is that email is probably going to do the best job providing a vehicle for the types of educational, relevant content that we're sending today. It also provides a nice training tool if one of our end goals is to drive traffic to our website, which also offers really robust content that answers a lot of questions. Email is a great way to do that because it can include all of those relevant links and give people the opportunity to click through and find deeper information as they see fit on topics of their choosing. So I would say of the options presented, I thought email was the most favorable.
Anyone else? Yes.
I like email for sure as the option, but I did like these combo platters offered too. The app setup did kind of intrigue me a little bit to give a little bit more customized information, if you will. The newsletter Again, I do like that. I think it's going to be the easiest. With the combinations, I think we'll be able to then get some historical data on what people are what they're actually looking at, and we can always adjust going forward. My one fear with the newsletter is things going into junk. You know, my daughter's school, that's their main source of communication, is a weekly newsletter. And parents always complain that they don't know anything, but they also refuse to read the newsletter. So and we're not going to bypass that in any option that we have. So those were the two combination ones, and then the newsletter, just the straight newsletter option, were the ones that I like best. I don't know that Facebook's going to be a huge value add, because I just don't think you're going to capture as many people. If that was our only thing, I could see that as an add-on, but not as our only form of communication. So I think we'll miss way too many people out on Facebook.
Craig, go ahead.
Actually, I had completely the opposite thought. If, for example, the page freezer takes care of sort of that legal concern of archiving things that we post, I mean, Facebook isn't just a young person kind of thing. I mean, us seasoned citizens also are very active on.
Correct. Facebook's no longer.
Yeah, young people
Yeah.
don't like Facebook.
You're right. That's probably true. That's probably true.
We're going to make
That's for the old.
Yeah, we're not doing TikTok. But what I'm saying is it's broad-based, and you get a high level of engagement, and if we're able to set it up like we've talked about before, where it's simply for posting, and because the other thing with this, no matter what we do, we have to do some kind of a promotion to get people to sign up. If we're doing a Facebook page where we post things, promoting people asking to join that is probably the easiest thing to do, as opposed to trying to get people to say, give us your email address so we can communicate with you, or give us your phone number so we can communicate with you. I think that would be a much harder ask than just simply letting people know, hey, follow the Village Facebook page, and you're going to get notifications of things. And you can do the links, so if it's about the brush pickup, put a link in there, drive them to the website. So to me, it seemed like that's the simple one. And I recall from our past discussions, it was the archival issue, which was kind of our biggest issue, wasn't it?
Yes,
the open
archival was the
records.
biggest
Yeah.
challenge, and the unsettled law related to it.
Right. And so the cost of that seems to be very reasonable, but I don't know. To me, it seemed like that was the simple approach. And again, we can use other Facebook pages to, like the one that Jim runs, to promote it. So it just, you can get some of that viral activity going on just to get people engaged in it. So I don't know. Like I said, that kind of went the other direction. So that doesn't help you
Do you
much,
have
does
a
it?
comment?
Yeah, I guess I have a preference for one that Cassie had suggested, and that's the texting option. And it has to do with personal habits. Everybody is communicating now in 5-second or 10-second bursts, which is well adapted for texting. And you can link anywhere from a text, whether it's Facebook, whether it's our webpage, wherever you want to do. So I guess I have a preference for the texting.
Go ahead.
I think my concern with just doing email is open rates are just abysmal for these things now. So I think we'd have some problems with that. The reason why I thought Civic Plus was interesting was because it had both email and text. But as far as Facebook goes, well, does this include Instagram too?
But you can do 2 social accounts, and PD already has a Facebook, so either we merge with them or we pay more to add. Like we can do Instagram, but the $99 is only for 2 accounts.
Mm-hmm. So it seems to me, though, that, I mean, honestly, if you're trying to reach a younger audience, and get them more engaged, Instagram, you'd want to have both Facebook and Instagram. I don't think we're ready to go the route of TikTok or anything else, but I think some sort of combination here. I'm not sure where the funds for this were coming from? Do we have any additional funds from anywhere, any
Well,
budget,
thankfully, we
anything?
already have a comparison with price point for the very economical printed piece that's being sent quarterly, and that's really the only
But we have
baseline
to
that we
keep
have.
sending that until we get our HMO rehab. So it
We've
would be in
decided-
addition to
Yeah.
for 2 years, 3 years, I don't know
Or-
how long. That,
Oh, yeah, couple of years.
yeah,
Although that could probably be integrated into the bill itself. No, that couldn't be like a,
it has to be its own notice, right? I thought that's what Kayla said in the water bill.
Yes, and it'll be probably not until 12 months of compliance, so that's,
Yeah.
so that's 12 months after the thing is in place.
I would say those seem like separate issues. What we'd be doing in the long term is replacing the paper newsletter that we frankly don't know the adoption or consumption rate of today. I do agree with you that rates are pretty deplorable for click-throughs with marketing emails in the business sector, but I would suggest that the onus is on the village to make sure that the content being delivered is meaningful and educational to residents, and that this is kind of a different vehicle than a marketing email, right? I don't care if you're having a sale at Kohl's, everything's always on sale at Kohl's. But hopefully I will care about the dates and important information being delivered by the village I reside in.
Jim?
Not to, copy anything else anyone said, I do kind of gravitate towards what Trustee Roberts was saying in terms of the adoption, part of it being easier, going through the Facebook route, because despite what Trustee Roberts thinks, Facebook is not a young person app. So
I said it was broad-based.
in fact, if you say you're on Facebook now, you get called in. But I will also say to Trustee Gergen, I don't believe the idea behind this is to attract the younger generation. I don't, this is to get important information out about the village and the services we provide. We can't discredit the next generation coming up, but I frankly don't know of any 8th grader or freshman, sophomore in high school that cares about brush pickup or the changing of water meters. So I think this is more for an information driven, so it should be appealing to the demographics of our village, which obviously skew a little bit older for the home owners of it. So I do think email is a efficient way of getting out information. However, I feel that unfortunately email servers or services have gotten a lot smarter with their filters. And I worry that, as Trustee Belt said, a lot of this is going to get screened out. And then I also worry that it is very tough to collect emails, but it's even tougher to collect phone numbers from people in order to get messages. So I would be more in favor of going the Facebook route to start, and especially if it allows multiple social medias, be it a Twitter account, which skews towards every demographic or generation, and Facebook, Instagram, I do feel would skew towards the younger, which, while I might be on it to try to still hold on to hope, I don't feel that's the best route to get pertinent information about the village out. So, yeah, I love email and getting that out. I don't know if we're not going to get the bang for the buck, or otherwise we just go straight economical and do the email because it's the most cost efficient through one of the other services that might not be on there.
Anyone else? Okay, well then,
Should I have one other thing? Can I say one?
go
other
ahead, right ahead.
Y'all know I love the socials. Like I'm all over Facebook and Insta, and it's a terrible, terrible thing. What I would say is that I have a little bit of concern there because I recognize that for some individuals who might not have received the information on the first pass, as you all know, if you're on Facebook and you're not currently scrolling, you might miss a great piece of content from the day before that comes up an hour later. When inevitably those phone calls or emails come to the village, we'll have to establish a process there so that we can then direct people to the content. Do we say, get on Facebook? And what if they're not on Facebook? And how do we easily say, but this is just me kind of ideating. If you have an email, you can resend the email.
Well, I'm saying, wouldn't the idea behind the Facebook to drive also traffic still back to the website to where someone calls in, you could say, oh, well, that's available on our website.
Assuming that it is content that is also housed on the website, I think that's absolutely true.
I guess my concern with the email, we can do whatever, but is I get an email and it gives me all this great information. Well, that's great. And then it gets lost 4 days down here. So I think we're more of like a, hey, we want it now society, where I'm not gonna go look 4 days from now or a month from now and say, what did that quarterly newsletter say? You know what I mean? I'm still gonna call, I'm still gonna look on the website, at least that's what I do. I go to the website and I look, that's my opinion, I guess. Unless you're printing it out, and saving it.
Any other comments? Well, Dr. No's going to say, I don't like any of them. And I'm sure everybody at the board here knew I was going to do that. I don't see where we got any money in our budget for this, and don't even think about using the RIPA funds or any of that, because how can we keep relying on that? Once it's gone, it's gone. I mean, last year we were having issues and we used it, and I don't think we should be looking at things that are going to be costing us more money. I talked to Cassie this week and asked her how the emailing went with, not email, but the mail that was sent out with the quarterly statement. And she said, well, yeah, it seemed to work, because we did get a few calls wanting to know about brush pickup, even though it stated it in there. I think what we're trying to do here, and this is just my opinion as an older person, I know I'm out of date in a lot of things, but we're trying to hand feed everybody in this community information that is readily available on our Facebook page.
On our website?
Web page. And when it comes to the Facebook page, we put ourselves out there. We're going to get people commenting on what we put out there. We're going to get people that are going to try to scam it. And who knows, somebody will put out a thing, oh, Village of Pewaukee is flooding this morning, or there's a major fire down at the village, so don't go there. You know it's going to happen sooner or later. Somebody's going to be able to get and do that. I mean, we get it all the time from your bank, your bills, Amazon. I just got one today that said I was overdue and I didn't have anything charged. So, you know, it's just whatever. So I don't see any plus side to any of this at this time. It's just, you know, we've got the website there. The staff has been able to keep up with it. We're going to be adding more staff time to putting anything that we choose here. It's going to require more staff time with them. Every year we get our annual audit, and it says right in there, you could use another staff person. So how much more work are we going to be giving these people that are already overworked? And I just don't think it's fair to them. I don't think it's fair to the community. And I'll tell you, I've been watching the hits on our YouTube channel, and I thought it was going to be a lot better than it is. And the average time is only 21 minutes. Hopefully it's when I'm talking. But I just don't foresee the village being able to do any of this at this time. So with that being said, I leave it up to the board.
There's no action on it, this is just discussion.
Well, it's possible action or direction.
Discussion.
Yeah, because, sorry, mine said that, and then I didn't change it on the agenda, so that was my fault.
Wait, what is it?
It's direction.
Direction.
Yeah.
Cassie, we had briefly touched on consulting with other municipalities, and I don't know, I know that takes time and energy. Yeah. Is there any consensus on how this is managed in other municipalities?
Sure. So I did a clerk's list after we talked that day, and I heard from 13 people, and all of them but 2 still mail it to every single resident. The 2 that do email, they don't know their open rates, and they're small, so that would make sense. Heartland does email, they do the notify me just like the city of Oconomowoc. it looked to me like the city of Pewaukee does a utility insert, from what I could see. There's one community that links on their website to the newsletter. And East Troy does emails. They put copies in the lobby. They post it on the website and put it on social media. So it's kind of all over the board.
Thank you.
Any more discussion?
No, I think this was all, I mean, it was all information we asked for, and thank you, Cassie, for putting this together. I mean, we can't make a decision, it was an idea, and we had to run it to the ground to see, and do our due diligence to see what it is before we made a decision, but obviously there's still either more discussion or more thinking, I think, that needs to be done on it. There's obviously no consensus from a board standpoint.
This will come up again Thursday, I imagine, because it's an item on our strategic planning as well. So we can probably continue the conversation then.
Any other comments at this time?
I do want to,
Yes.
just to a couple of things that you said about the, how long people are watching online. Chances are they're fast forwarding to the parts that they're interested in, and not watching it live. So that's one thing, if they see something agendized and then they want to see how someone, what the discussion was on it. And then second, all of this was brought about originally, I believe, because the village residents have been saying that they want more transparency, and they want more information delivered to them. I believe that happens because we don't have news media that covers us, and so they need a way to get the information. They aren't going out directly for it. So I do think something needs to be done. And I think, when we're discussing it more during strategic planning, maybe we'll come up with some more ideas.
Any other comments? So before I move on? Okay, we're going to move on to the quiet zone update, discussion and update on quiet zone process. I asked Scott to put this on because and staff have been going back and forth with letters to the DOT and commission about what we can do possibly about the quiet zones in the downtown. We do have the one crossing that we'll be discussing next that is not finished, but it's being in the process of being finished. And as you can see here, they first start out in the letter back to me when I asked about, can we do just quiet zones on either end of the village, which would be the East Kopmeyer and the East End. And they first said, not really, but then as you read on further, we could do that, but then when we decide to do the two downtown, we would have to encompass those into that study, and thus it would become could be more challenging, possibly. But I wanted it out there for the information because I've been getting calls and people want to know what's going on, how far are we from getting a quiet zone, and I just wanted to see from the board what kind of direction you'd like to go. If there is the possibility of doing the two outer ones, is there some appetite for doing that? Or do you want to wait till all four are available to be done? That's kind of what I want to know. We want to know. So up to the board. What comments as to what is, yes, Craig.
I guess I just wonder that, would it make a difference? I mean, the width of the village is what, 2 miles?
Mm-hmm.
So if we're making it quiet in spots but not in other spots, and they blow their horn, is it going to make a difference? I mean, I'm in the far reach of the village where I live, and I can hear the trains.
I mean, to piggyback off that, and also what the gentleman spoke on during citizen comments, there is a conductor, and anyone in the village knows, he usually comes through at the 1 a.m. train, who starts it at the first one in the city and does not release it until he gets through Forest Grove. So making him release it at some points would be an improvement over what he does right
Well, that's
now.
what I'm asking, would it? I mean, if it does, okay, but I don't know if it would.
I guess my question on it is, so I'm looking at it from a bigger picture of, would the Railroad Commission, who is obviously rules with an iron fist and is not the most easy to work with in the first place, if they are open to us doing something like, if they would grant us the shoulder crossings and be open to that, does that in fact then make it potentially easier for us when the center crossings are completed to now say, hey, we're back, you approved those, let's just roll it all together, and they go, Milwaukee's back, okay, go ahead and do it. Or are they going to be, I don't know, petty, that we didn't wait for the full product to be completed and be like, no, we're not going to give you the outer ones because the inner ones can't even be done right now, and then they're going to be less likely to work with us in the future. So I guess I'm looking at it from I see what they sent back to you. I guess I'd want a little more context on if you spoke with them, what the tone was, or does getting these shoulder ones done give us a greater chance to get the center ones done? Because personally, I'd rather have them all done and know that they're all going to get done than try for two and tip over the apple cart.
Anyone else? Bob?
Yeah, we're talking about finalizing Oakton Avenue and crossing there. I realize we've got it coming up right after that. Is that either the cement curbs put in or the solution that they're suggesting in the next agenda item, is that considered completed work? We are then complete at the closed corridor.
Scott?
Yeah. The following item on the agenda for the raised curb, or the quick curb, DOT is looking if that's something that would be acceptable to the village, and if the village says yes, they would then go to the OCR and ask the OCR if the quick curb would satisfy their requirement for the no left turn. So once we get that answer, if that's the direction, then we'll know what the final product is going to be.
Okay, so worst case, not worst case, but the scenario that the feds want is a cement curb put in, right?
They're just, the OCR is the one that's dictating the no left turns.
Okay.
So that's through the OCR. So we need to first satisfy, along with the DOT, finalizing the Oakton crossing. Once we get that finalized, the Federal Railroad Administration is the agency that would be the lead and participate along with the DOT, the county, for quiet zone analysis. So we're talking two different agenda items, two different agencies of jurisdiction.
But yeah, and I'm just trying to get a feel for what is considered a final work that allows us to go with all of the crossings at one time.
My opinion, I think it makes sense to finalize Oakton. I've seen other crossings in the county where they have similar raised medians that might be quiet zone areas as well. Get that resolved and then do all four crossings at once. There's no guarantee all four are going to be approved. Each are evaluated on their own. Pedestrian activity is one of the things that they will look at, which could very well be a concern for the beach crossing.
Opposed to like and I'm sorry to step in, but what you're saying there, how they all get evaluated separate, are we able to have discussion and actually work with them on it, or is we present something and they either deny it or accept it? Because like if we apply for it and say we want all four completely quiet 24/7, and they say no, you're SOL, or is it, well, how about that won't work because of the one downtown and the amount of pedestrians? Do we have the ability to come back and say, okay, can we have it from 8 p.m. to 7 a.m.?
Yeah, my understanding of the process, we make the application, there's the evaluation team that'll come out and take a look at each crossing. And then I think theoretically, they could say yes to the 2 end crossings and no to the 2 middle ones. But I think proximity to the crossings to each other impact that decision as well. But long story, there's no guarantees, but I think based on the comments from the FRA at this point, or federal DOT, it may be that the easiest ones to get approved are Forest Grove and Kottmeyer, with the 2 center ones are more challenging. But the downside, we do the Forest Grove Kottmeyer right now, say those get approved, we have to come back and reapply for all 4 crossings to be considered as a quiet zone. And then,
already be approved.
right, but based on the content of the email from the federal DOT, you'd have to repetition for all 4 crossings in one application.
But we still benefit from 50% of the crossing.
Correct. Time will tell, though, is if the time frame, say we're lucky and we get a decision from OCR on something within 6 months and it gets approved, I don't know how far along we'd be in a quiet zone application process in 6 months. So is there merit in waiting and doing everything at one time versus going through the process, getting it approved back, and then having to come back within a year or whatever time frame to go through that whole process again?
Heather, wait, go ahead.
Are we able to apply with the city for both ends? Like, are theirs sealed so that they could do the closed corridor? I'm just thinking, like, if those were part, if the 2 on the ends were part, with the city's application, and then the 2 in the middle were part of a separate application, would that be a way that we could do that?
Possibly, but if we wanted to do the West Wisconsin and Oakton, I think we'd have to, again, just reading out of the
Municipality based? So like
Yeah, that's what I'm
Yeah, they
wondering,
are
yeah.
separate than the cities, or are they just looking at contiguous ones?
I'm not sure. I think
I think the application has to be made from the jurisdiction where the crossing is located.
Okay.
But to your point, if you were to say that you know that there's a concurrent application from another jurisdiction that has the next crossing down, so to speak, that might be material based on the comment they made in their letter.
Chris?
I am thinking that it's probably premature for us to be making a decision on this until we understand the full financial implications. Not opposed to the idea of moving on 2, as long as we don't find out down the road that it's going to cost double because we did the job separately or something to that effect. So I would be curious to hear more on that.
Anyone else have any comments?
I mean, I think it might be a little premature, but only in the time frame of figuring out if whatever is proposed at Oakton would be acceptable to satisfy, because at that point, if we propose something there, they come back and say, yeah, that would satisfy it, then we can take the approach, then we can go, okay, well, let's do all 4 at once. They come back and say, no, that won't be acceptable. Cool, let's try to get the outside ones approved and retool center ones. But at least then we'll know. I mean, I'd rather shoot for them all at one swoop, but at the very least know that we will have the opportunity to get those 2 at one point. So I think we should at least hear where that discussion goes.
So the direction right now is to hold off and wait till all 4 are ready to be approved? Is that what I'm hearing?
Well, I mean, I would personally, only speaking for myself, I'd like to hear some direction towards the Oakton crossing to know how we're going with that one, as well as Trustee Gergen said, reach out to the city to see kind of where their head is at with the other crossings and our numbers. So I don't want to drag my feet on this. We've already done it for 17 years. But, I mean, if we're going to do it right. And I think at least another meeting, to compile some more information would be beneficial.
Okay,
My opinion.
I would concur with Jim.
I'm with Jim.
okay. We'll move on then to, I have an idea now and what we need to get. Item E, or D, is discussion and direction on the Oakton Avenue Sealed Corridor project. Scott?
Yeah, so Dan and I have had a couple of conversations with DOT on trying to figure something out with regard to a permanent solution for the Oakton crossing. The DOT staff with regard to the crossings, apparently they don't have civil engineers or engineers on staff in that division to work on designing, because they're rail grade crossing engineers, which are different than civil engineers, the different specialties. So they asked, long story short, if the village would be willing to accept the quick curb concept, which a copy of the brochure was in your packet, in lieu of moving forward with a more, I guess I call it a more permanent type, not that this isn't permanent, but concrete seems to be a little more durable long-term than the material that is part of this. Although I have seen this style of delineators somewhere off of 16 Nashotah or somewhere at a crossing over that way. And with what Dan and his crew put up last fall, did survive the winter months that we had without getting clipped by plows or cars. So, and this would be a little more durable than that, what's proposed. So their request is for consideration of the quick curb. They would look for grant funding from within DOT to pay for it, reimburse us. In all likelihood, it would be an intergovernmental agreement, our state municipal agreement, where we enter into that first. The village would purchase it, get reimbursed by the DOT, because technically they're not allowed to work on local roads, even though this was their project to begin with for the sealed corridor, which impacts a local road. Dan and I talked, and I don't see it as the worst thing. Would I like concrete better from a long-term maintenance? Yes. Does this, what they're proposing, also get the job done? Hopefully, and that's where, if the village is in agreement with it, they would propose this concept to the OCR to see if it satisfies the OCR's requirement for a permanent solution. OCR comes back and says yes, then they would like to move forward with this concept. OCR says no, it needs to be concrete for whatever reason. Then we're back to square one and trying to get the DOT to fix the problem they created.
Questions or comments from the board? Question. Yes, Bob.
So you mentioned, Scott, that the DOT would find funding and get a grant to pay for these. We say no, we go to cement. Where's the funding for the cement company?
Well, the next challenge with that then is to find somebody to design it and put the bid documents together, which in the meetings that Dan and I have had with them, we've said that's not a village responsibility to pay for that and get the bid package. That's your responsibility as DOT to get that done. So then they're presumably back to working within the DOT structure to find somebody to come in and help out the grade crossing engineers to put together a design and bid spec for the concrete medians.
Go ahead, Jim.
I'm sorry, I'm going to take us back one step further and be the pain that I typically am. Are we waving the white flag on trying to redesign that so that we can get left turns back onto Clark Street? Because, I mean, from what I'm hearing here is that ship has sailed. Now we're just trying to get whatever dinghy we can out of Wistock to satisfy this. Is that what I'm hearing?
Pretty much so, yes.
There's no more discussion with the railroad of trying to incorporate left turns.
If you want to come up with money to retain an engineer to do that kind of design work, I guess that would still be a possibility. So if you recall, there's already litigation pending.
Correct.
And the plaintiff in that case had indicated a willingness to move forward with having some design work by an engineer. But we still remain in the midst of litigation with them, so that complicates that whole process. But I think at the end of the day, it becomes whatever the design that's come up with, how is that going to get paid for? And I don't think we've received any indication from DOT of a willingness to participate further than what Scott has just explained. So I think that would complicate this all further as well. We might come up with a design question, and then becomes how will we pay for it? And is it our responsibility to pay for it? We would say no. The state will probably not be forthcoming with funds to make that happen.
Okay, and I'm going to go ahead and just my last question, because I mean, this is fine if that's, like I said, if that's what we're going with, where the other ship is gone, whatever. I don't care. Let's just put an end to this already. But my last question being the is there gas in the tank type level question. Have we proposed just adding stop signs to where oncoming traffic does not yield? So like,
I think the OCRs,
like the temporary ones we put up during the 4th of July and stuff like that, which then obviously eliminates the queuing over the tracks, because as you're coming over the tracks, you don't have to stop, you have the right of way on the turn. So have we proposed that?
So the answer to that would be no. I don't know if Dan, you did.
Yes, so, I'm not sure how long ago, 3 or 4 years ago, I brought that actually up as a topic, Public Works and Safety. We had Pat Hawley from R.A. Smith take a look at it. I had that same question after a special event. What if we put a stop sign at the flower shop, and what if we put that stop sign on the other side of Capitol? And he evaluated that and strongly recommended against that, because it's the whole thing was acting as two distinct separate intersections that were too far apart to function as a single intersection. And now that whole thing is sort of thrown away, because now you've got those medians in there. Those left turns aren't coming back. I mean, I don't think the OCR is ever going to go back on that, just because of the queuing that people do on the tracks.
And you have an existing order that requires the submission of the concrete or the installation of the concrete medians to prevent that. So we're also dealing with a situation where the time has long since passed for compliance with that existing order. And what concerns me is if we have an instance where there's a situation where there's a collision and there is, we have not followed through on that, that it could be problematic for us.
Do we have we done a bid, or do we have any idea how much it would cost to get one of these railroad engineer designers to create a plan for?
I think this would be a civil engineering project, though, is what I'm hearing, as to that element, even though it interrelates with a.
It also depends on what you want to do. If you would like to re-implement left turns, then that's a much grander project, and you're acquiring right away and doing a bunch of other things. If it's just a matter of extending the medians and putting a set of plans together and going out to bid with it, that's a much lesser thing. But I'm not sure what to compare it to, but I mean, you're into 5 figures of design and bidding costs. And if I recollect properly, DOT at one time gave us sort of an estimate of what the construction was going to be. Do you remember what that was? $25,000 or $30,000?
I don't remember now.
I mean, my opinion is that this is the best that we're going to get out of the DOT at this point. And the OCR order isn't on the DOT. The OCR order is on the village, even though we didn't create the problem.
So you're saying these flexible things, the quick curb is the best deal that you think we're going to get?
I think that's the best deal we're gonna get from this guy.
That we don't
Otherwise,
have to pay for.
yeah, otherwise it's gonna be on our dime to do the concrete thing. But if we don't do the concrete thing, and we have the order to do the concrete thing,
That's why we
we
start
have to
with,
talk to the OCR to see if they'll approve it.
yeah, I mean,
WISDOT
that's the
will
first
do
step,
that.
is to see if they'll accept that as a suitable alternative or not.
Chris?
I think I speak for everyone when I say that it's super disappointing that those left turns are gone forever. I think that will meet with disappointment from everyone in the village. My question is for you, Dan. Do you have an idea of the difference in maintenance costs? So my understanding is that they'll pay for this to be installed, but then after that, it's on the village to maintain it. Is there a difference, substantial difference between maintenance for this versus the concrete solution?
Yeah, I mean, concrete curbs are gonna last you for the useful life of concrete, in the middle of a road, 25 to 30 years. I've seen some of these units out there that aren't young, they've been out there for a long time. There's some on Conwalk, there's some in Lisbon, I don't know, they're around. And I know they've been there for a long time because they're faded, their sun faded over time. We haven't had one of these bollards mowed down over the winter, a good sign. How long do they last? I think in their brochure, they've got 20 years or something.
I saw 10 years as data, I'm not sure.
10 years? I mean, I think you'll get 10 years out of them easy.
Yeah,
That's 20 then.
And,
I like 25 better.
but at 10 times the cost.
But if it's their cost versus our cost.
Any other comments? So the only comment I would have is if we're looking at doing what's presented this evening, along with that, I'd like the DOT to confirm that hopefully, if the railroad would look at that and consider it for a quiet zone. If there's any way they would say, well, to be the quiet zone, it's gonna have to be concrete. Or this will be okay if we don't so desire to do a quiet zone, pardon me.
I think I've seen other projects where they've used these kind of devices, and I'm thinking in Mukwonago that they use them there as part of a quiet zone application. So, you know, I'm no engineer, but my understanding is that would be part of what could be used to comply with the requirements for a quiet zone.
You're right, I do remember that. Okay, thank you. So is everybody okay then with staff moving forward with trying to, with the DOT?
Does that meaning that the board's willing to move forward with the quick curb concept?
I don't think anyone's okay with it. I think everyone's pretty bummed out.
Yeah.
Terms. I think it's an improper phrasing of it, but this is the hand we've dealt, and unfortunately, pun intended, we got railroaded on this, and
Kind of being held hostage.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
We
I
got,
can certainly present back that there's disappointment that the concrete curb is not the final option. But having said that, there's a reluctance and willingness to move forward with the quick curb just to try and get the matter completed and life moving forward.
If the OCR
Right.
will
right.
say that's theirs.
Yeah, if that meets the OCR's order, yes.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, there is the other option to your question, which is, you know, another way to address this, given the left turn lanes. But that, again, that's going to require the redesign, which there would be money available from the plaintiff in that lawsuit to analyze. But at the end of the day, there'll be a substantial cost for right-of-way acquisition and construction. So the question is whether the village, you know, values that greatly enough to be willing to entertain that potential cost.
Yeah, and with that, if there is a reconstruction of the crossing, moving the gates and arms is not going to be a cheap measure.
And I would assume that we'd have to buy property
right away
They have to be
acquisition,
right-of-way
yes.
acquisition, right?
Well, I guess the other part of it is we could look at it and say, if they do accept this, and it gets us what we need in the short term, we could still try to address it on the back end after that litigation hopefully passes, because these are removable, opposed to a giant concrete curb. So that still gives us a little bit more flexibility for redesign.
Okay, then we're gonna move on. You got everything you need, Scott and Dan?
I think so.
Yeah. Okay, item E is the discussion and possible action on R.A. Smith agreement regarding Kiwanis Village Park sanitary sewer lateral design and bid document. Who wants to take it, Dan? You, Scott?
This is a project that staff reviewed with the board as we were going through ARPA discussions with possible projects for ARPA, as well as concerns that are out there. There have been a growing number of situations where the DPW crews having to go out and jet the lateral from the Park Pavilion that goes to Caldwell, about 400 feet. Nick reached out to a local firm, and I apologize, I slightly misstated, but didn't get on my memo soon enough on last week to comment. He requested a company come in and camera, televise the line just to try and get an idea of what the issues are and then provide a recommend solution. What ended up happening is we got a proposal from the company for about $55,000 worth of work without a lot of detail and not a copy of the televising yet. That dollar amount well exceeds the bidding threshold of $25,000 for a public works project, which is when we reached out to R.A. Smith to get a proposal to do the design and bid package so we can move this project forward to address the issue with the sanitary sewer lateral. And I think long and short of the problem is there's not a lot of pitch. It's a flat flow, which on heavy usage can lead to not a lot of flow to get through that pitch. So Dan, and please jump in if I misstate, the concept is to get a design to install a grinder pump, which is going to make sure that there is continuous flow to the sanitary sewer to make sure we don't have any backup issues in the future.
Pumps it from the pavilion to the street under pressure, instead of having ugly sewer backups coming out of the floor drains in the building. We had a pretty ugly one last year.
And again, during high use of the park.
Yeah.
You know, so you're talking Memorial Day and any other high use periods of time. It's the worst possible time.
Is that a daycare location?
It is.
Everything location.
Yeah. And I think, Dan, please correct if I missed it again, but I think we are on a somewhat regular basis for going and trying to sewer jet as a preventive measure as best we can around those high usage dates.
We recommended that the park staff, flush all the toilets a bunch of times in the morning and run the water and try to keep things moving. But that doesn't happen for reasonable reasons. I mean, they're just kids and stuff that do what they're doing and stuff, so.
So proposal is to, request is to move forward with the design, with the proposal from R.A. Smith to put together a design package and bid documents. And then that way we can get something formal out there, get some bids on it, hopefully multiple sets, so we're getting a good feel of what the market is. And as I noted in the staff report, we're estimating, we're still waiting for the final audit numbers, but from Baker Tilly at this point, they feel that we'll have about 1.2 million or maybe a little bit more in our infrastructure fund, which is a set aside of fund balance specifically for capital infrastructure related purposes. So in my opinion, this project would fall into that category. So we're not needing to borrow money to do the work. It's funds on hand for the purpose of eliminating debt issuance.
I think it should be made clear, if we don't get any work done in these bathrooms, we have to close those bathrooms down. and bring metros in. It's that bad.
Any other comments?
It has to be done. It's the focal point of our village outside of the lake.
Yeah.
It's used for everything and anything within the village, you know, car shows, beer gardens, whatever. It has to be done.
I would support that, and as Scott's suggesting, use the infrastructure fund. It looks like that went up a fair amount based on the positive balance we had from 21 going into 22, probably hit the 40% ratio, so we had a flush of money going in there. And unless we have something else, no pun intended, but you know what, I'll take credit for it. But unless we have something else earmarked for those funds, and I'm not thinking that we necessarily do, I would say that's probably the best way to get it, as opposed to trying to use the ARPA funds, because we already agreed we're saving that for budgeting gaps.
Yeah, we are working through CIP, which will probably have something, one of the meetings in May for the capital projects for this year, for some consideration of debt for those projects, as well as some proposed use of the infrastructure funds, but not nearly the $1.2 million that's in there. So we're finalizing those projects for water, sewer, roads, just to see what our need is. But I think I can comfortably say that it's not anywhere near for what we might be proposing for equipment for the infrastructure, that dollar amount.
And the work that would be done by Smith, R.A. Smith, the $6,000, part of that would be to help tell us how much it's going to cost to fix, right?
Yeah, they'd be doing the design and bid package, and along with that, an engineer's estimate, again, based on what they know at that point in the market.
Yeah, I think it's the right thing to do.
Yeah, and their estimate is, their estimate is 6,000, time and material, so they're only gonna bill the time that it takes.
Will we be able to get this project done before the summer camps?
Probably not. We're probably looking at maybe 4 or 5 weeks on the design, and then moving forward with the bid would be, 2 to 3 week process for bidding. So it could be mid-late summer.
Is there a way that we could put this as a priority above some of the other projects that they might be working on for us?
They're already working on road projects for this year for Hickory and a couple other streets, but I can talk to Tim Barbeau and convey the urgency that as quickly as they can get this done as possible.
Any other comments, questions? Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the proposal to have R.A. Smith work on the engineering for the construction-related work with an estimated budget of $6,000 taken from the village's infrastructure fund.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion is hereby carried. All right, discussion and possible action on committee appointments. I have some. First, for the Board of Review, I have Cheryl Mance. She said she'd still like to stay on. She's been at all the meetings. I'd like to reappoint her to the Board of Review. So I'll look for a motion to approve.
Motion to approve, Rhodey.
Second, Krasovich.
All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion is hereby carried. Something we've never done before, but according to the rules, I found out that Trustee Roberts on the Planning Commission must be appointed for a 3-year term. So I would like to,
You mean I've had an opportunity all this time to get off that thing?
yeah, you did, but now you're done.
Not at the
Screwed up.
I would like to appoint him for a 3-year term.
Motion to approve, trustee Roberts.
Second, Gergen.
Discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Okay, the zoning board, Public Works and Safety, I would like to appoint Chris Krasovich as the new trustee taking Ed Hill's position at this time.
Motion to approve trustee Krasovich to Public Works and Safety Committee.
Discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? On the zoning board of appeals, I have Paul Everett and Patricia Stronger, who have been on and they'd like to stay on, so I would like to keep them. And Ed Hill has said that he would like to get on the zoning board of appeals. Thank you, Ed. So I would like to approve all 3 of those.
Motion to approve, Gergen.
Second, Krasovich?
Yes.
Question with regard to, there's 2 members for full 3-year terms and 1 alternate. Which is your proposed as an alternate member?
The alternate is Ed, because that's the vacant one.
Okay, just wanted to,
Okay, I'm sorry. Maybe I should have made that clear. So, did you motion?
I did.
Okay, do we have a second?
I think Chris did.
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, then we're going to go to the Park and Rec Department. We have Kristen and Eric. Well, Eric Krasovich has been on, and I'd like to reappoint him. And then as a new member, I'd like to appoint Kristen. And I think both of them have very good qualifications to be on the Park and Rec. So I would like a motion to approve both of them.
Motion to approve, Rhodey.
Second, Grabowski.
Okay, any discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Okay, the next one is on the sex offender ordinance. I have Lauren Miller and Carla Belter that both have been on it and would like to remain on it. So I would like an approval on them.
Motion to approve, Grabowski.
Second, Gergen.
Okay, any discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Joint Library Board, we have Leslie Miller. She's been on the library board for a very long time, so I would like to keep her on there. She said she would like to stay on, so I would like a motion to approve her at this time.
Motion to approve Leslie Miller.
Second, Roberts.
Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Okay, and then on the Lake Advisory, I would like to appoint Jim Grabowski to fill Ed's position at this time. So I would like a motion to approve Jim. Jim has been friends with one of the other trustees. I believe it's from Delafield, Jim, is that correct? You've known him for many years?
Yeah, many years.
And he's worked with the police department. He knows I'm just blanking here, the name of the gentleman who's running the PD Shore.
Luke Twelmeyer.
Trialmeyer, okay. So I feel he's very well qualified for that position because of that. So I will look for a motion to approve Jim on that position.
Motion to approve.
Second, Rhodey.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? And that's it for this evening. I will have some for the Planning Commission, but there's maybe some changes coming down the pike as the term of the length on there. So that's why I'm not appointing anything at this time. Okay, item G, I've been asked on, it says right now, review of quarterly financial reports and monthly approval of checks and invoices for all funds, March 2023. I've been asked to hold off on the review of quarterly financial reports till either the next meeting or the second meeting. The financial people are putting some more things together and they're not totally combined yet for them to be here. So with that being said, we're going to go to the monthly approval of all checks and invoices except for the library. I will look for a motion, to approve as presented.
So moved, Krasovich.
Second, Roberts.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay, and then I will look for a motion to acknowledge the library funds, checks and invoices.
Motion to acknowledge the checks for Robinson.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion is hereby carried. Item 9, citizen comments. This is an opportunity for citizens to share their opinions with board members on any topic they choose. However, due to Wisconsin open meeting laws, the board is not able to answer questions or respond to your comments. All comments should be directed to the board. Comments are limited to 3 minutes per speaker. Speakers are asked to use the podium and state their name and address for the record. Is there anybody in the room that would like to make a comment at this time? Yes, sir.
I think you all know who I am. I'm Mike Heisey, 440 Oakton Avenue, Pewaukee. And I came here to give you an update since the January meeting. And I didn't realize tonight that Oakton Avenue was on the agenda. I was kind of hoping to maybe speak before you made a decision, but I think it's a little premature to go ahead and close off that intersection until we have or at least till you had the opportunity to look at a plan. And I don't know if you know, but our engineer, Wayne Higgins, had passed away, and he was the one who started the original plans. You have a copy of our original before they closed off the left-hand turn. So we finally have found an engineer. It wasn't very easy because there's two problems. One deals with railroad and one deals with intersection. So we've been able to put two engineers together who are experts in both, and they are willing to put a plan. They've looked at it, and they've said, yes, they believe that there is a solution that would satisfy the OCR. And I guess I have to disagree with Dan about the OCR's decision to close off the left-hand turn. They are looking for a solution that will restore left-hand turns, but nobody has come up with a plan. And I guess it's because of money. And so I'm not sure. We committed and we are willing to spend the money to put a plan together, or more than one plan, options that can be presented to the ORC. Our problem is when the engineer contacted Dan or Scott, they were told that they couldn't talk to him. And without being able to talk to him and get some clarification on what they need to finalize the plan, it kind of puts us at a problem in finishing the plan. We can put a plan together with contingencies, but it would be nice if we were able to work with at least Dan or somebody from the village to be able to answer his questions. And so what I'm looking for is can we have permission, can the engineer have permission to talk to somebody at the village?
At this time, we're not able to answer or
Right.
respond, but you could contact us after the meeting.
Yeah, and, okay, and I think what happened, I think our, Michael Van Clunen, he's the attorney who represents us, I think has talked to, I think, Mark, and has
Sent me an
asked,
email late this afternoon, but the advice came from insurance counsel, as I understand it. So not from my office, but our insurance counsel. So Mr. Heisey, as you well know, that case is still in litigation. There's motions pending, and I think that was the source of or the insurance counsel's advice on that.
and
So
we're here to
it is
work
what it
this
is.
out, so we don't have to
Well,
go
you
to
started the
court.
lawsuit, sir, and so we are where we are, aren't we?
Yeah, right,
Thank you.
and we're here to try to resolve it. We said that we're willing to give land, we're willing to actually pay for some of the costs to fix this intersection. I think you've seen several people in the village who live in that area that would like to see the left-hand turn restored. There's a lot of businesses in that area that depend on customers making a left-hand turn, so it makes it more convenient for them to get to their business. And I think it's a big issue. And I know you want to make it a no-whistle zone. Maybe there is a combination that we can do both. And at least let us present something, and before you make any decisions in closing it off.
Okay. Thank you, sir, very much for your comments.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else that would like to make a comment at this time? Okay, item 10, closed session. The Village Board of the Village of Pewaukee under the closed session pursuant to Wisconsin Statute Section 1985 1E for the purpose of deliberating or negotiating and purchase of public properties, the vesting of public funds, or conducting other specified public business whenever competitive or bargaining reasons require a closed session, specifically regarding joint library agreement with the city of Pewaukee. I will look for a motion to move in a closed session.
Motion to move into closed session.
Second, Grabowski.
Roll call vote, please.
Trustee Bell? Yes. Trustee Krasovich?
Yes.
Trustee Roberts?
Yes.
Trustee Gergen?
Yes.
Trustee Rhodey?
Yes.
Trustee Grabowski?
Yes.
President Knutson?
Yes, we are moving into closed session. Thank you, Ed.
For the general public, please exit.
Let me know when you're ready. Item 12, adjournment.
Motion to adjourn.
Robert, second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
We are hereby adjourned. Thank you, everybody.